Well, I have a dragon in the book, so
it just makes sense.
Yeah.
Just some human turning. Wait, hold on. We'll wait for this.
Hey, welcome to the Nerdy 30s, and we are here today with a pretty exciting interview with one Miss P Anastasia.
This is her, not me.
That is her. I'm Travis.
I'm over here in the corner.
I'm Travis. And this is
Aaron and
P Anastasia.
Hooray!
oh my gosh, who would have thought? All right. Well, P Anastasia is actually an Amazon bestseller. And don't you have a bestseller somewhere else as well?
Working on it. I mean, this is already actually #1 in Arthurian fantasy and young adults. So, and that came out on Tuesday.
That's awesome. She's talking about Fates Aflame. I always want to say Fates Atlantis because there was a Indiana Jones game I used to play as a little kid
I think
called Fates of Atlantis. No, no, but it was.
I am nerdy too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And it's great to be able to interview nerdy people that are above 20.
Yes.
Am I right?
Hey, you're not supposed to talk about that.
Oh,
We're not talking about the age.
Who said I was above 20?
She's not above 20, and this is an exclusive for our podcast.
Now, is it true that you actually started writing when you were 11 years old?
Yes. Yes, I've been writing since I knew how, basically, and I started trying to write my first novel when I was about 11.
Nice. What was your first novel about?
It was an Egyptian mythos about a girl who found a magic book in the library, and she opened it up, and there was this magic necklace in it, and it actually sent her back to ancient Egypt, where she finds out she's actually a goddess.
Cool.
And so eventually I will finish that book.
What girl doesn't want that?
Yeah.
Is that necklace kind of reminiscent?
This is actually reminiscent of my vampire book, Dark Diary. There's a character in here who is like really classy, and she wears tons of jewelry. So when you hear this vampire coming, you can actually hear like the jingle of her jewelry. So.
Oh, I love it.
It's like the T-Rex in the water.
Yeah, you just hear, like, there's parts in the book where you'll hear, like, a jingle, and he's like, oh no, she's coming.
That's when you know that your cat's coming as well.
Yeah.
So, cats and vampires are pretty similar.
I have 2 cats.
About it. Yeah.
I've got 2 cats.
I have 5.
Oh, wow.
He has 4.
No, I have 2 cats.
What? Oh, no, you have 2 dogs.
But one of them pretty much is a vampire because he doesn't claw you. He, like, turns his head and he bites you.
Wait till you go to sleep at night, poke you in the eye, you know?
Those little jerks. I love them. I love them. They're my babies.
Yeah, mine
So, with you doing a vampire book, what's your favorite vampire aesthetic?
Yeah.
You mean in mine or in all? What do you mean?
Yours.
Yeah,
Like
just
you're
in general.
In general, what's your favorite?
Can I show you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Kyle, you give me the hardcover? I'll show you what my favorite aesthetic is. Because I have to show you, I can't just tell you.
That's okay. I'm
This.
visual.
Ooh, like
Oh.
a winged vampire.
So he's almost like an angel, like a fallen angel kind of a
Bat
thing?
wings.
Genetic mutation.
I like it.
You can't say a lot of vampires have wings. So.
Yeah, that's pretty unique.
That's probably one of my favorite things. My vampires they're very like artistic and poetic, and they have an interesting way of speaking.
Yeah.
And, graceful, and I don't go for the whole like Twilight kind of thing, but I mean, I have a very different perspective on vampires. Mine are genetic mutations.
Nice.
So they actually have like a backstory, and all vampires are a little bit different. They all have slightly different abilities and things like
That's
that.
interesting.
I like that. I like that a lot. It's kind of like X-Men.
A little bit.
But with
X-Men.
vampires.
Yeah, you don't really know what they're going to have until they're already become a vampire. Then all of a sudden they get this ability, and you don't know what it is.
That's so cool.
So like he got wings, but they don't all have wings.
Yeah.
It just depends on the genetics of the specific person that gets turned.
Yeah. Well, he's actually from the 1700s, isn't he?
Yes. He was an indentured servant in Ireland in the 17th century.
My family were indentured servants back then too, from
Are
Ireland.
they vampires though?
You bet they are. That's why I'm so pale. This is actually makeup. It's lots
Me
of
too,
makeup.
you and me both.
Yeah, look at that. Oh,
Yeah.
we're twins. Yes,
I'm
yes,
a vampire, but I feed exclusively on fatty food.
You're not wrong. Oh, jeez. But question real quick.
Yeah.
The main character, it's Cathara, right?
Kathira.
Cathira. Ooh, fancy. Does she have PTSD?
Maybe a little bit, but she has a really bad family environment.
Okay.
She basically has an abusive stepmother.
Okay.
And she also lost her real mother to brain cancer. So she has some problems.
Yeah, I would say so. I would say so.
So she suffers from a lot of depression, and so that is also part of why when she befriends the actual vampire character, he is also suffering from kind of depression because his teen lover committed suicide.
Oh.
So he has been living his entire vampire life having to carry that sort of grief with him and deal with that. And so they actually become friends and are able to sort of cope with this by talking to each other about these losses that they've had.
Interesting. Was that one of the things that you really wanted to portray in this book, is mental illness? And
yes, being an artist.
Yeah.
Basically, she's a tattoo artist, so she deals with a lot of this internal pain and emotion and kind of what it takes to be an artist also. So on a personal level, it sort of relates to me as well. You know, the struggle of trying to be an artist and trying to get your vision out there, and what it takes internally and emotionally to do that effectively to make you a good artist.
So what is it that, I'm sure that it has a lot of the plot in it, but my question, so what is it that, the steps that they take to try and break themselves out of the depression?
That's complicated.
It's so complicated.
She likes to
I'm trying to think of how to say it without really spoiling it.
Yeah. That's why I was like, I'm sure it's got a lot of the plot in it.
Well, being friends with someone who has suffered similar things as you really helps you kind of understand that other people deal with this kind of grief, and you can talk it over with people, and having a friend that you can trust. But I think part of my story also is that, you know, even if you have these people in your life, and even if you find that sort of peace, you can never truly get rid of your darkness. That's actually a moral of that story is going to be that you can never truly give up all of your darkness. It doesn't matter how content you feel like you are or how many friends you have. I mean, you'll always have that little bit of sadness in you. It's just something you have to bear in order to just be, exist.
Yeah, exactly.
We're getting all sad now. Let's talk about happy stories now. Just kidding. People are going to think I'm so sad. They're like, oh, she's so sad.
No, I actually think that it's important to highlight these kind of things because there's so many people out there that are struggling with it 24/7 that don't feel like they have a voice. Exactly. And then if you go and you see Dark Diary and you start reading it, you're like, hey, I feel just like them.
Yes.
I don't feel so alone. Even if you don't have a friend, you got a friend in the characters in this book.
Yeah.
So that's all I gotta say about that. but that mental health is actually something that we touch on our podcast
We talk
all the
about
time.
it all the time because it's important to both of us because we both have our own issues with it as well. So it's really nice to be able to kind of deal with it and create a fiction. Whether it's through reading the book or just talking about it, making our own art about it, I think it's really important to actually feature the art.
It's something that's just very important to me, and I'm glad that you're highlighting it.
And I think it's something that a lot of people, especially in a vampire-themed book, don't think about. They always just assume it's like lust and immortality. And they don't think about the burdens that come with being around for 400 years and how you have to deal with yourself and your history and the people that you love and that you've lost. And so it's a little bit different perspective. And that's not like a depressing book, but it has a deeper meaning than I think a lot of people would imagine a book like that would have. At least I hope that's how people find it.
Right, and I think that's important for anything that deals with vampires. Because I mean, face it, if you're gonna live 700 years, people gonna die around you. People gonna be dead. It's gonna be sad. I'm just saying. So in your book, Fates Aflame. So something that like the whole. Well, actually, why don't you just tell us about it? So I'm not explaining it. I was actually fascinated with the whole storyline, so I was like, "Ooh, let me tell." But here, I'll let you.
All right. Fates Aflame is about a futuristic version of Earth where the government is sort of run by different types of military academies. And the main character is actually a student, a lieutenant at a military academy that's up in space. So if you imagine kind of like a Death Star type of thing, but not the Death Star, it's a lot smaller, where they train people in different military tactics and different things. And she actually has to come down to Earth to deal with some political issues dealing with another military school. Ends up inadvertently finding out she has the ability to control fire and that she has this magic to create fire. She gets a dragon friend, and then eventually the rest of the world tries to murder her and sends all these mythical creatures after her, and there's a sorceress after her, and there's just all these things that she has to deal with to prove that she's worthy of having this fire that she never really wanted to begin with.
Oh, wow.
But at the same time, she's also dealing with some relationship things she has. She's dealing with her career, and she's very career-driven. So she's trying to balance work, and oh my God, the world's trying to murder me. And it's a very complex story. There's just a whole lot going on.
That's awesome. So something that's really important to me in female characters in any kind of book that I think you actually do a really good job on is for the character to have flaws.
Yes.
What do you think is the most important flaw about this character?
She's hard-headed. She's worried about her career and trying to focus on doing well and performing well, like so much to where there's a relationship in the story going on, and she doesn't want to sacrifice her career for this relationship that could very well be good for her, but she's like, no, I have to work. I have to get promoted. I have a job. I have responsibilities, and I don't know if it's like a flaw, but it's it's like our perfectionism to a flaw.
Yeah.
So she's a little hard-headed, I guess is what it is. Almost to the point where she almost loses somebody that she cares about. So.
As so many working women do.
Yeah.
That's right. I threw it in there. I threw it in. So it says in the synopsis that the Earth chose her as its guardian. What was it about her that made the Earth want to choose her?
I don't know if I can really tell you that. Ooh, it's complicated.
Lots.
I'm going to say her personality. Just the way that she's able to deal with different types of people effectively.
Yeah.
So she has a very specific type of personality that fits that role.
Nice.
So she has she basically, the Earth throws these responsibilities at her, and she's going to have to take what comes, basically. Whether she's ready or not, she's going to be ready.
Nice. So is it like a Ferngully thing? Where it's like, I'm going to save the world!
Whether she wants to or not, yes.
Nice.
A little bit.
Nice. I actually love
But she has
Ferngully.
help, like I said. She has a dragon. So she has a dragon, and she has a magic sword. And magic actually exists in this world already, but people don't really know it.
Yeah.
So she's one of her characteristics is that she studies ancient artifacts. So she actually has this ancient magical sword, and doesn't necessarily know if it's magical or not, but that's something that she studies. Like she actually studies old artifacts. So it takes place in like a futuristic version of Earth, where this is almost like a couple hundred years from now.
Yeah.
So our history has happened, but it's happened differently.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of, so they call our time period the Old World period.
Interesting.
And then they call I guess a couple hundred years ago would be the ancient world, even though that's not ancient to us, but it's ancient to them.
So are there any like scenes where they're like, oh, we're gonna go through these abandoned ruins, and it's like a high school or something? Because I think that's pretty cool.
No, it's not that old. No. No, luckily not, no.
Yeah.
That would be funny though.
It would be pretty amazing. I'm noticing a trend in all of your books that all of them have really interesting names. Like everyone does. Why did you choose which name for which character?
They just sort of come to me.
Really?
It's hard to, like, people always will ask me that, like, how do you come up with characters? And honestly, I'll be like writing something, or I'll get a character will come into my mind, and I'll be like, what is this person's name? And usually I just kind of wait for it, and it happens. So I guess to help explain, in Fluorescence, when I was writing this series, it was going to be 3 books. It was supposed to be these 3. And at some point in the second book, this other character shows up. And so I was literally, before I even finished writing the book, I was like taking a shower, and all of a sudden I like started seeing, a lot of writers will have, for some reason when you're showering, you'll like start thinking about things. And that there's a
You're washing your hair and you're
you're like
a brain.
massaging your
story,
brain.
like because you don't have paper and you're not in front of your computer.
Right,
and stuff.
exactly.
But this other character showed up, this one down here, and he showed up, and I was like, who the heck are you?
Yeah.
And I was like, all I got was his name started with a D. And I was like, okay, it's either Daniel or David, it's David. So I jokingly tell people that it's almost like being like a medium, where these characters show up and you just have to feel like who they are and what their names are. Like I don't feel like I just make up names. I feel like they're there already. They're in here.
Do you think that you are a medium?
You never know.
She's telling the stories.
I always say, you never know.
That's
These
right.
people,
What the future?
these people could exist and I don't even know it. I'm just channeling their stories.
You should look on like Ancestry.com and see if you can find them.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding. Do it. Do it right now. So something that I thought was really interesting about Fluorescence is there are 4 different books to the what is it? Tetralogy?
Tetralogy. It's such a weird word.
It is a weird word, but I really like it, and I spent some time practicing saying it because it doesn't make sense in my mouth.
Word doesn't believe it
The
either.
whole car ride up, we were trying to figure out how to say that word.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
Tetralogy? We looked it up. It's 4 books.
Yeah,
4 books.
exactly.
That's what that
It's real. It's a real thing, and Word will not acknowledge that to this day. It's like, no, that's a real word, tetralogy.
It's a legit thing.
Yep.
Look it up, people. But each one of your books, you have a different main character. Why did you choose to do that?
Because I wanted the perspectives to change so that as you move forward, so in this book, for example, in the first book you start off as Alice and she's 14 years old. So you're going to get a totally different perspective from her, who grew up in this really nice little household with a perfect little life, and she's young and naive and kind of stupid.
Yeah.
And then toward the end, you're in the head of this 26-year-old guy who grew up in Staten Island, who was on drugs and had stole cars, and so you get this perspective that completely changes.
Yeah.
So when you're reading from a 14-year-old high schooler's, from her imagination, her head, she doesn't sound anything like this guy who's just been through complete everything. Who's been in jail, who's been just in all these different situations where his thought process is totally different.
Yeah.
So as you read through the story, you're getting more mature and different perspectives, and you even hear what they think about each other. Like you'll get through a different book and you'll be able to hear what that character thought of the other characters in their own voice and in their own language.
It's really cool.
You should get the audiobooks since I narrate all of those as those characters also. And they all have different voices and accents and everything.
Do you do the boys' voices?
Yes.
Can I hear it?
The boys?
Yeah!
That one's really hard to do.
I always ask the hard stuff.
She does. She tries to.
I don't know if I can or not.
I am Bubba Bubba. Bubba Bubba.
How about this? The boys are really hard to do because I'm trying to think. They're really low. So when they talk, they're like really low voiced.
Yeah.
At least Brian. But for example, my favorite one. Can I switch a little bit?
Absolutely.
In Dark Diary, there is an old female vampire with a very low, scratchy voice. That's one of my favorite voices.
Ooh.
So she's very, very different.
Sounds like Kate Mulgrew.
It does.
And then, like, this girl, she's a Valley girl, so she has a totally different accent and a totally different way of speaking than everyone else does.
Yeah.
So, like, I can do all of them, but the boys are actually the most strenuous because they're really low.
Yeah.
So those are very, very hard to do. I haven't practiced enough because I recorded those a few months ago.
I love it. So do you feel like when Spaceballs, you're like, she's a bass?
It's really awkward sometimes recording, and I'm like imagining that some neighbor or something's hearing me screaming weird words, and they're like, what's going on?
I don't understand.
What do you mean you shot someone? What's going on over there? You know?
The police.
Have you had people check?
Luckily, no, but I worry
Yeah.
sometimes, and I'm
yeah.
like recording something, and I'm like, I don't want to yell this line too loud. Somebody might accidentally hear it.
So do you have like a home studio that you recorded in?
Yes. I do voiceover work sometimes for like commercials and different things.
Yeah.
Freelance. So you might, if you get a weird phone call, like somebody asking you to do something with your car lease or something, it might be me. I don't know.
My mom gets people calling her all the time about her car lease.
My name is not Rachel. You go.
Hold on. Do you go, hi, this is Rachel?
I've done similar things, not that exact one, but similar ones, and it is so annoying because I'm like, why am I doing this? I don't want to do this. I mean, I'll choose, but
I bet it's totally you.
some of them I've done or I have gotten, and my mom has actually called and been like, I think I got a recording from you about some like home loan. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't control what they do with it.
Right.
I just
you do it. You're like, I want that money.
Yeah.
Give me that cash, please. In the book Fluorescence, it's actually like a dying alien race that comes down to take over some humans and implant their DNA, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Now,
fun.
I know, total fun.
So they think it's cool at first. They're like, okay, I guess this is alright. It's not hurting us or anything.
Exactly.
And, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Why are they dying?
They actually caught a virus that is changing their genetic makeup and killing them off. So it affects certain genetic makeups.
Are they going to turn into a vampire?
No. But there is an actual tie-in.
Totally.
There is a tie-in between the two books. The worlds are tied together. And
I
this
love
is
that.
This is all I will say, okay? So fluorescence lives inside you. It actually glows and it resonates light.
Uh-huh.
And in Dark Diary, all of the vampires have a different colored light in their eyes. And there is one line in this book that indicates that they are clearly connected.
It's a little
And it's something about the aliens having been here years ago. So even though I'm not saying that vampires are necessarily created by aliens, there is a very clear tie-in. And these characters, this Brian in book 2 of Fluorescence here, this one here, I don't know if you can see it, but you see that page right there, that graphic novel looking comic page? That's actually a character that he created for a graphic novel.
Oh, cool.
And he called Staggered Heart, so I actually have a print of that. And he is inspired, his art is inspired by the tattoo artist in Dark Diary.
What?
So I want to eventually write a crossover where he actually gets to meet her and like fanboy a little bit.
That's awesome.
I love connected universes.
I do too.
Like that.
And it was weird because I didn't even really know that was what was going on until
Yeah.
I got to him, and I was like, oh, I didn't even realize that was his inspiration for
That
his
is
work.
awesome. That is awesome. So okay, so you said that they maybe came a long time ago. Are the vampires the descendants of the people that got the fluorescence?
No,
Man!
sorry.
I was like, I'm gonna crack the code.
It's gonna crack the code.
I'm gonna crack it!
Exclusive.
Spoiler, no, sorry.
That would have been amazing if that's what it was. I'd have been like,
Sorry, go ahead.
oh, you good now?
Yeah.
Please make sure you keep this in. All right, so you actually spent time in Kung Fu Japan. What was your favorite thing about Kung Fu Japan?
The arcades.
Oh!
I know, I was like, see, I'm totally nerdy.
Yeah.
They have these amazing arcades like at every corner.
Yeah.
And everything costs what is basically 100 yen, which is basically $1. But 100 yens are coins. So you go to the arcade with like piles of coins and don't even realize you're spending $1 for like every game you play. But I mean, we didn't care. We joked it was like funny money back then because you don't think a coin was $1.
Right,
you know?
exactly.
But they have arcades like on every corner, and they have these claw machines, which are like my thing. I'm like the claw machine queen. Like that's my thing. I have all these toys that I've gotten from them
How?
because I'm good at it.
I can't even get them to go down all the way.
I have all these different things that I get. Like I can just look at a machine and tell if it's gonna like work or not.
That's a skill that most of us don't have.
No, I don't have that at all.
Yeah,
I don't have that at all.
And so I see a claw machine, I'm like, I have to go try that. And in Japan, I never got to go to one, but they actually have entire halls of nothing but claw machines.
You could have like
Hundreds of them.
you
Clean
could have
out.
taken everything out.
Just take it and resell it.
Resell it to the manufacturers of the claw machine.
I'm going to ask one of our more whimsical questions
Oh,
that
boy.
we have, which we haven't asked everybody, but we've
No.
decided that it's going to be a segment now.
Anastasia.
We
If
thought
you're
it would
the
be fun,
first.
like because you do a lot of fantasy.
So, who do you think, what do you identify with more, or who do you think would win, pirate or ninja?
Pirates. Pirates are awesome.
I knew you'd be a pirate. I said it last night. I was like, she's gonna be a pirate.
She called pirate.
Yeah.
I did.
But how about a vampire pirate?
Yes.
I was so close. I said you would either be a fairy pirate or like a vampire pirate. I was like,
Vampire pirate.
I was right there.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about this.
So what's your reasoning for that?
Because pirates, what do you mean, right?
Just because you identify with them, or just because they wear like funny blouses?
Are you
and
guys
hats?
familiar with the Monkey Island series by any
Yes!
chance? I grew up on that. That is like my favorite series in the entire world.
Yeah,
That's probably why.
it is hilarious.
Irish 3-foot mighty pirate. That's my thing.
I love it. Who's your favorite character in that sucker?
Stan,
Yeah.
the salesman, and he's always like selling everything. Hey, you want to buy some life insurance? You want to buy a coffin? Yeah. Yeah, probably Stan.
Yeah, Stan's pretty amazing. I always like the
I
really...
want him to be played by Jim Carrey. Like, so I wish they'd just make a movie already.
Oh,
like
he'd be
Jim
so
Carrey.
good.
He would need to be.
I hate to interject,
Yes.
but Carrie Ells as Guybrush.
Oh, that'd be amazing!
Too bad he's not
That's
here.
Mitch, by the way. That's our cameraman. He wants Carrie Ells.
I've thought about this before.
Yeah.
I've thought about this before.
And then that lady who call me now for your free reading, you know, Cleo, like
Oh, yeah.
years ago, they set that psychic on TV. Call me now for your
Call
free
me
reading.
right now.
Like she just needs to be the old voodoo lady, you know.
That would be amazing. I would watch that.
They need to make a movie, but they need to make it not suck.
Yeah.
You know, because like if
Exactly.
they ruin Monkey Island, I would just be like, I quit life, you know.
I
Right.
quit movies.
I'm done. I hate
I'm
everything.
done with everything.
Yep.
No thanks. Now, if you played Monkey Island, did you play King's Quest?
I never really got into that. My brother did, but I didn't.
I
Sorry.
loved King's Quest. I did. What about Quest for Glory?
No, I played Space Quest.
Space Quest was good too.
That was good.
I will agree with you. That was a good one.
Alright.
Yes, yes, yes. Or Captain Keen. Did you play that one? 90s video games are like my guilty pleasure.
Yes.
I will go back and I will play them all day long.
There's an old horror game called Shadowgate that just scared the bejesus out of me when I was a kid. It was
that's
an
so
old horror
familiar.
point-and-click game, and there'd be points in the game where you're walking through the game and you would click
Yeah.
on a hallway and you would fall into a hole and die, and you just hear this sound effect of like, "Ah!" It's just scary you to death no matter what you were doing. You just like go down the hall and it's like, "Ah!" You just fell and broke your neck.
No, I can't
You're like,
do it.
I got to start over.
I'll start playing those kind of games, but I get too scared, so then my
Yeah.
character just stands there for like half an hour.
Like,
I'm like, do I want to go in
go.
that room? I don't think so. I don't think so.
So, going on our previous discussion about movies, have you ever like kind of thought in your head, like casted your
Yes.
own movies? Do you have any like you want to share?
Dark Diary. Are you familiar with Emily Browning?
Yes.
I would like her to be Kathira. Like she is Kathira to me.
Yeah.
Like when I see her, that's pretty much what I see.
I like that.
And either Ben Barnes or Logan Lerman for the main character Mathea, the vampire. They both have like this. I want a male and a female character who have what I call darkness in their eyes. They have this ability to show this darkness and sadness in their characters. And there are a lot of actors out there who can't do it.
Yeah.
Like,
They're both
I guess
very-
I wouldn't see like Tom Cruise as a character who could portray a real sad, you know?
Or
he couldn't
anything.
have that like sadness. Yeah. Or who?
I said, or anything. Not no, I like those two because they do have darkness in their eyes, but they also have kind of like baby faces, so like you wouldn't suspect them to be full of darkness.
Yes, exactly.
That's
That too. They have to have that, and that's part of the vampire. Mathea's the main thing is that he also does have that like almost like a softness and an innocence to his face, but he also has this sort of darkness in his eyes, and so you can see it. And it's like there's this weird line between like beauty and sadness and darkness, and so that's also why I really like those two is that they're able to show that, and you can see that in their faces.
Yeah.
So it's like, hurry up! I need them now before they get any older.
That's awesome.
Buy my books now for movies.
Do it now. Who would you want to have in Fates of Flame?
I cannot remember her name, but there's an actress that I like for her, but I don't remember her name. There is
Amy Adams.
No.
Yeah.
She's like 40.
I absolutely hate Amy Adams. I just want to put that out there. I really do. I hate her. I hate her
There
so
are
much.
so
I'm
few
okay with you,
redheads,
Amy
though,
Adams.
in acting.
I know. Why do they have to be the terrible
Why do they
ones?
have to be the annoying ones? I don't know.
No. Drives me nuts.
I don't. Are you guys? A lot of people hate it, but there's the new MacGyver series.
Oh, I love it.
Okay, Lucas Till looks almost exactly like the guy who's in that book.
Really?
Yes. Like, that's who I see as that character. Like,
Yeah.
he needs to be that, and he's kind of dorky, so he totally fits the male character.
Yeah.
in that
Did you
series.
see him in Monster Truck?
Yes, the girl he's acting with in Monster Truck is the girl I want to be her.
What? Okay.
And I'm like,
forget
they've
her
already
name.
done it. It was so
like
creepy.
they're already together.
It was so creepy to watch that movie because I was like, I'm seeing them. I'm
Yeah.
seeing my characters. It's super weird.
Forget her name. She's in the
And she
Evil Dead
has
movie.
kind of a reddish hair, so
Yeah.
like it's perfect. And she's a little like dorky too.
I love that. I really do.
Sorry, so they've already been in something together.
So did you watch the original MacGyver as well?
Yes. Dean Anderson, yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's why I was saying Stargate. I missed him. I'm watching him in Stargate too. So.
You have to.
The word Stargate is in this book.
Is it?
One of the characters actually mentions it, and the other girl goes, "What is that? Is that like nerd talk? Because I don't know what that is." He's like, "I guess you're too young."
It's like, just leave my presence right now. Leave it.
Don't speak to me. Forget it. We kind of covered all of the things that we were going to ask. Do you have any more questions, either in closing or just whimsical things you want to know?
Okay. If you were on an MMO, what type of character would you be? Would you be rogue? Would you be a warrior? What would you be?
I'd be a magic user.
Yeah.
Because you could like kill people from over there.
Yeah.
Conjure like animals and dragons and. I always like I'm half Christmas elf and half like forest elf.
I love
so
it.
I can do magic and I can wrap presents like no tomorrow.
I'm really proud of you. I'm terrible at wrapping presents.
I know.
And
He's just
I can conjure
wadding out.
magic.
I do. I put tape all over everything. I'm just like, let's just
Well,
tape
look,
it.
I guess which one Aaron wrapped.
Like a magic wielding elf. All
Yes.
the things.
I would
Please
be,
and thank you.
I
I'm
would
always
be
an
a,
elf.
I would be a monk because they have the cutest outfits. But also I have a bad back, so I'd be the worst monk.
You'd be the healer monk that stands in the back.
And then they'd be like, okay, now use your DPS. I'll be like, and I'd throw my back out. It'd be really bad.
It's okay. I have a bad back too, but I'm still going after it. I'm gonna be an elf and I'm gonna
Try
be a rogue.
writing for like years and sitting over a little computer like that, you know?
Yeah.
Everything hurts.
I'm pretty sure that's where I got my hump. Because I'm a writer too, so anytime
It's
that
really sad. You can start picking out people like that. You're like, yep, they got bad posture. They're a writer or they're whatever, you know?
they're a
They're
gamer or they're a
blogger
writer
gamer,
or
yeah.
something.
It's terrible.
What's your favorite gaming? Out of all of the game universe, what's your favorite game?
Final Fantasy, but I'm not as into the new ones as I am with the old ones. Because I
Yeah.
will say, Final Fantasy VIII was the first one I played, and it's not everyone's favorite, but that's actually what inspired me to write this back when I was a kid.
Really?
Like that's the world that I wanted.
I do too.
That was my first one too.
So if you've played the game, you will actually see like very, very vague similarities with how there's magic and there's
Yeah.
these military type academies and they
Yeah.
have to go on these journeys to look for things and stuff. So it's
I do
similar. It's just a similar idea. Like that's what sparked it for me. It's like
Yeah.
I resonated with like Squall. Leonhard was like my favorite character. He still is. It
Yeah.
was, but so like that's what resonated with me. That actually made me kind of inspired me to write that book.
Yeah.
But that was when I was like that was back in 1999.
Yeah.
So that's when that started. I have a copy on a floppy disk still that I started working on.
That is
back then.
awesome.
So I sometimes show
Final
people.
Fantasy fanfics on floppy disks too.
No, I mean like the book of this that I was.
Oh
writing
no,
at the
I'm
time.
sorry.
Oh, I
about
wish I
mine.
could play that. What megabyte of Final Fantasy?
He's a fanficker and a half.
I'm not anymore. Now I'm a role player.
Oh,
I
excuse me.
write role play, but I did used to write some awful fan fictions, which are still up on fanfic.net. So
Go check it out.
check it out.
Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor at all.
No, not a sponsor, not even a little bit. Do you? I mean, these are things he wrote when he was a teenager, so
They are terrible.
yeah.
Well, they'll get better though. I mean, I wrote that when I was a teenager, and I rewrote it like 8 times, and now it doesn't
Yeah.
suck. And they're
Nice.
only my husband and one of my best friends have a copy of the original, and it's like, please don't ever look at it.
Show
Don't
it.
tell anyone. It's like the mind of like a 13-year-old or
Yeah.
14-year-old girl or something, you know,
Yeah.
almost. And it's like, no, don't tell it. Don't show anybody that, please.
Oh.
People will think I can't do anything.
Oh, absolutely. No, they wouldn't think that. They'd be like, she's really evolved. I'm really proud of her. That's what they would say. Yeah.
Good thing.
So there's actually a trend going on right now in all the the comic books and the superheroes. A lot of the male comic heroes are turning into females, like Thor
Yeah.
or Iron Man or Wolverine. Which Wolverine I can totally handle. That's fine.
I like Wolverine the way he is, thanks.
I love Wolverine, but it's his kid. It's like a lineage. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of like that one I can see a little better. But Thor and crap, I'm like nah. What's your take on this?
On the superheroes?
Being turned into ladies. I want more lady superheroes that aren't taken away from the dude ones.
I don't really care either way. Like I have had people like, for example, I had a journalist read Fates of Flame, and she got a little mad at me that the captains of the academy were both male. And the weird thing is, it's not in that book, but one of the captains is being replaced by a woman. But it's not in that book. But I actually already wrote that, and so I'm like, women can do men's jobs if they need to.
And vice versa. It's fine.
I mean, I think it depends on the character. I think if it's appropriate for that character, and I think if it works, and they're still strong characters, and they're not just doing it because they just want to see the character with breasts, then whatever.
I think that might be the case with Thor, to be honest with you.
Yeah, some of them are a little out there.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. All right. Well, do you have anything else that you're working on right now?
I'm always working on stuff.
Ooh, like what?
Constantly. I already wrote the sequel for this.
Oh, cool.
I just finished it like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I'm working on a sequel to Dark Diary.
Uh-huh.
It's darker than the first book,
Yeah.
so that goes. And I also want to do a spin-off for this. And I'm eventually going to write. I don't know. Any of you guys familiar with Lady Hawk? I know no one watching this is going to know what that is.
Talking about Dragon Age?
No, Lady Hawk.
Like that old movie with
The
Michelle
old
Pfeiffer?
movie with Matthew Broderick.
With Michelle
Yes,
Pfeiffer? in it?
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yes, I know.
It was a story about this, like a knight and this girl who were cursed to where the knight would turn into a wolf at night, and then the girl would turn into a hawk during the day. So that actually inspired me to write this romance about this sorceress who is with a tiger.
Oh.
And the tiger is actually someone who is cursed. And so it's a very complicated type of story, but so I'm inspired by like really old stuff that like it stays with me. But I'm working on that. I'm working on a spin-off to this. I'm working on a sequel to Dark Diary. I'm working on a sequel to Fates of Flame. It's like I don't get to rest. I have to keep writing. I enjoy it.
I think that's wonderful. Like, I am really, really happy for you that you've had so much success with these. They seem like they're amazing books. I've read a little bit of this one, and I've read a little bit of Dark Diary, and I was impressed. And I plan on reading more of it. So you should too. So check them out online. You have them all on Amazon. What's your address? What's your website?
You can just go to fatesoflame.com and you can find this book on there. Each one of them has their own site, but fatesoflame.com will take you there. If you go to P Anastasia.com, you'll actually go to my Amazon page with all of my books, so you can find everything on there. And all the audiobooks, ebooks, hardcovers, everything.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for interviewing with us. This was amazing, and I love how interesting all your books were. Yes. All right. Well, thank you. I'm gonna shake your hand, Doctor. Is that weird that we're doing this? Are we freeze framing?
Freeze frame.
That's terrible. I'm not gonna do it.
Hold on. Please, one more time. I don't think I got it.